Greetings, fellow primates. Jim the Ape here. And while that intro has been okayed by Bionic Dance, I still would like to think of a new one. But that's going to take me some time. So, in the meantime, I would like to start what I hope will be a bit of an informal series of videos on my channel called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Now, that's not a terribly original idea. I'm sure someone's thought of doing that before. But much in the same way that Sargon of Akkad has his This Week in Stupid series, and Teal Deer has his series of videos about how Person X doesn't understand Concept Y, and Undoomed has his series of videos examining and responding to special snowflakes, I figured I could have a running theme with certain videos talking about my opinion on certain subjects and what I think are the good, the bad, and the ugly aspects of it. The first subject that I would like to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly aspects of is definitions. You know, I've noticed a lot of people lately, and feminists and social justice warriors in particular, defer to the dictionary for their arguments. You know, you'll hear feminists reciting the dictionary definition over and over and over again in an attempt to convince people that feminism isn't a bad thing and can't be a bad thing and that everybody should be a feminist. But it doesn't really work that way. It's kind of fallacious. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the dictionary fallacy is a thing, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. But of course, the dictionary isn't all bad, so let's start with the good. Well, the good thing about a dictionary and about definitions in general is that it's information at a glance that is supposed to be easily digestible, and it's supposed to tell you what something is, and describe what words are supposed to mean in the least biased way possible. But, of course, it doesn't always work as it should, so that kind of concludes the good. The bad is that sometimes a definition can be biased, since, after all, definitions are written by people, and the person who wrote the definition is a flawed human being with biases. So, it is entirely possible, depending on what the word is, that a person's bias could make it into the way a word is defined, especially when you're talking about concepts of ideology, religions, and, politics and social issues, those kinds of things. And furthermore, definitions can be twisted from their original meaning or their more objective meaning to fit an agenda, like a religious or political or ideological agenda. And of course, when you're talking about the definition of an ideology or the definition of a movement or of a religion or of a political group, the thing about that kind of definition is that it may describe what that group or what that ideology is on paper, or at least what they claim to be, but an on-paper definition is not going to account for different actions and different rhetoric of the members of that group. So you could have a very extreme example of Nazis, and yet their political party was National Socialism. And I'm pretty sure that before World War II happened and before the Holocaust happened, I'm pretty sure the definition of National Socialism was nothing to do with murdering Jewish people and gypsies and whoever else was targeted by the Holocaust. There's probably too many groups of people to mention. But the point is that sometimes the definition of something on paper doesn't give you a good idea of what it is in practice. And that's really what I'm getting at. And now for the ugly, which coincidentally has to do with the things I mentioned in the bad. And really, the ugliest thing, perhaps the worst thing about definitions of words, is that feminists and social justice warriors have twisted the definitions of a few very important words to suit their agenda. For example, they change the definition of sexism so that they can say whatever they want about men and not be labeled sexist by their own definition. You know, you've heard this, the whole prejudice plus power thing. And they do the same exact thing with the definition of racism, so that they can linguistically immunize themselves from the charge of being racist against white people. Same old thing, prejudice plus power. We don't have power, therefore we can be as sexist as we want, but it's not sexism. We can be as racist as we want, but it's not racism, because we have no power and we're perpetual victims. And that's the narrative that they're trying to push, which is, in my opinion, the ugliest thing about the dictionary fallacy, about using definitions to suit your agenda. But the worst example of this that I could possibly think of is when they twist the definition of rape. Not just on paper, not just on Urban Dictionary or, some other trivial secondary source for information. They twist the actually vitally important legal definition of rape so that women cannot be rapists in the eyes of the law and could only be accused of, in the rarest of cases, sexual assault. And that is by far the most disgusting thing to come out of feminism, the most disgusting thing to ever come out of social justice, because it actually affects the legal system and it's tantamount to rape apology. In fact, it's even worse. It's rape denial, because by their definition, forced envelopment is not rape. In fact, if you ask them, they might even say that forced envelopment doesn't even exist. Like, that doesn't even happen. But if they do acknowledge it, like, the worst they'll say is that it's sexual assault. And, oh yeah, that's a bad thing. But they still won't push for harder sentencing for people who are guilty and people who are convicted. Well, just people who are convicted, because that's how the justice system works. Anyway, I've gone off on a little bit of a rant, but as it happens, my pet human has come up with a definition of consent, and by extension, one for what is and is not rape. And I believe that that definition is fair, it's useful, and it's mostly unbiased. However, I'm not going to elaborate on that in this video. This is more of a part 1. I will make a second video detailing my pet human's definition of consent and rape and what isn't rape, as well as give you the backstory of how he came up with it. And I will also be asking for feedback on whether or not it should be the legal definition, or if it might need a few improvements first. And I will do that in my next video. That video is coming soon. Well, fellow primates, how did you like this video? This first edition of possibly a series, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or the GBU, as you might call it. What did you think of this video? Did you like it? If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down and let me know that I should be doing something different. Give me your thoughts in the comments section below. And of course, subscribe for more of my videos. I'll catch you next time. Stay great, apes.